सेम सेक्स मैरिज जो है ये कहीं न कहीं हम लोग को संस्कार से विचलित करेगी।
40-50 years ago, we didn't even recognize gay people or LGBTQ, any part of it basically.
लगता है आजकल क्या है, ये लोग छुप के सब चीज़ चलती थी, अब ऐसा लीगल हो जाएगा तो ये सब खुलेआम हो जाएगा।
Same sex marriage should be illegal in India because like love and liking people that you love.
I am hugely disappointed in the government, but I'm also really happy that we're actually moving forward and having conversations at least. Because up until like 40-50 years ago, we didn't even recognize gay people or LGBTQ, any part of it basically. And today we're talking about it in the courts, even the governments. So I think it's really important. It's a really important step towards development and progressiveness. The people right now, like my grandparents, they think that being gay or being any kind of queer is basically a westernized concept, and we are being brainwashed by the media, and we shouldn't be on our phones. We're on our phones the whole day, and that's why we are becoming gay or we're coming out as gay just because people have told us to or because it's cool. It's not. Even though some people are feeling comfortable right now to come out, doesn't mean that they weren't gay before.
सेम सेक्स जो मैरिज है तो मैं जो उन्होंने डिनाई किया है उसके सपोर्ट करता हूँ। देखो ये क्या है, कुछ व्यवस्थाएं हो सकती है, कुछ कंडीशनल हो सकता है, लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म में इसको परमिट नहीं करना चाहिए। उससे हमारी जो व्यवस्था है ना कहीं न कहीं जो है बिगड़ेगी। और जो कल करो जो हम लोग जो टोटली जो वेस्टर्न जो कल्चर है, ये भी वेस्टर्न कल्चर है जिसको हम जो इंडिया में धीरे धीरे आया हुआ है, और ये टोटली यहाँ पर फिर लीगलाइज हो जाएगा तो हम लोग भी वहाँ से फिर हमारा इंडिया उनसे डिफर नहीं हो पाएगा। हाँ, तो इसलिए मैं उनका बिल्कुल सपोर्ट इस बात की विरोध करता हूँ। पार्लियामेंट से उम्मीद करता हूँ कि हमारे प्रतिनिधि बैठे हुए हैं, इस पर उचित निर्णय देते हुए जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो वर्डिक्ट आया हुआ है उसका सपोर्ट करेंगे।
I think obviously same-sex marriage should be legalized. It's high time that India gets with the world and goes according to what people believe is right and goes according to how feelings and emotions progress. It's not something that can be classified as something that's right and wrong. It's not something that is simply as simple as yes or a no. Because same-sex marriage and love and caring about another person is not something you can say no to. It's a human emotion, and it's absolutely wrong for you to deny that. And as Ashwati said, we are a developing nation, and it's definitely not right to keep on staying to those ancient feelings. Ki same-sex marriage should not be there. We should have a modernized outlook on life, and that's how we will develop as a nation too.
दूसरे देशों के अपने अपने रहन सहन नियम हैं, भारत के अंदर ये चीज़ बिल्कुल नहीं चलेगी। लगता है आजकल क्या है, ये लोग छुप के सब चीज़ चलती थी, अब ऐसा लीगल हो जाएगा तो ये सब खुलेआम हो जाएगा और आम पब्लिक के ऊपर इसका गलत असर पड़ेगा।
He should have given us a more detailed and accurate answer rather than keeping it ambiguous. Everybody is human. It's just who they want to be. It's merely sexuality. It doesn't matter. If we, being heterosexual, can get a right to be with whoever we want to, then they are also human. It's basic human right they should get.
Supreme Court has actually followed what Constitution of India has actually asked it for. See, there is a clear separation of power in Constitution of India, where judiciary is granted with a limited liberty or limited power of actually checking all the laws which are being passed by the parliament and see whether something is unconstitutional, and if there is something unconstitutional, then declare that part or the entire part as void and unconstitutional. Now Supreme Court has not been granted the power to make laws. Now with these bunch of petitions, the petitioner were actually seeking a declaration of a fundamental right, marriage as a fundamental right, and then recognition of same-sex marriage in the ambit of marriage. Now that in itself is a creation, demand of the creation of a new law out of the existing law in this country. So there were two sets of demand from the Supreme Court by the petitioners. One, whether there can be a same-sex marriage permission under Hindu Marriage Act. So because India is a secular country, my petition has clearly stated that if you are granting this same-sex marriage recognition under Hindu Marriage Act, you should also grant it for other religions. For example, Christians, Muslims, Bauds, Sikhs, etc. So Supreme Court on the day one of the argument has categorically stated that it will not interfere the religious laws of this country, including Hindu Marriage Act. So that was out of the picture. Now the second point was whether they can interfere in the secular laws of this country, including Special Marriage Act and Foreign Marriage Act. We said that okay, you can interfere in these issues. However, the marriage laws in this country is not just restricted to marriage. It also includes divorce. It includes maintenance of the separated spouse. It includes the adoption and the welfare of the child. It includes the property rights, both ancestral and owned. Now, who will decide on those aspects? Because Supreme Court is not equipped enough, not resourced enough to do those things. And so only Parliament can do those things. Supreme Court today has clearly stated that okay, we will not interfere, or we cannot interfere in those aspects. Those aspects must be exclusively dealt by the Parliament of this country. Now the last aspect was whether Supreme Court can grant right of adoption to the civil union of an LGBT community. Now civil union is allowed since the Navtej judgment, because Navtej judgment, where Supreme Court and Government of India stood on the same ground, where decriminalization of Section 377 was granted. Now these petitioners were seeking an additional demand of adoption from those rights. Now 2 out of 5 judges, including CGI Chandrachud and Justice SK Kaul, was in support of granting those adoption right to the LGBTQ community. However, the other 3 judges, including Justice Hima, Kohli, Justice Narasimha, and Justice Bhat, has categorically stated that if we are granting these rights to the civil union, or for that one LGBT community who do not have fundamental right to marry, then there will be more chaos in the society, because how will we deal with those aspects which are not covered here? Example, and including the Juvenile Justice Act and the POSCO Act. So that is why they did not grant this right as well, and has in fact passed the buck to the Parliament of this country. And that was the right decision by the Supreme Court today. So I guess it is a very fair judgment today, because the separation of power is very clear even in the Constituent Assembly drafted by or under the consideration of Dr. Rajendra Prasad and B.R. Ambedkar. It was heavily discussed whether Supreme Court can have power of formation of new law, and it has been cleared and categorically stated time and again that no, Supreme Court cannot create new law. And see, because of the fact that it is not a small right where you are tinkering into something and it will not affect into other. If we are changing one aspect of Special Marriage Act, because Special Marriage Act, if you go through the legislation, if you go through the argument of Constituent Assembly when it was brought, you will see that the Special Marriage Act was brought for heterosexual couple, and that was stated by Justice Bhat today in the court also. So it was brought for the heterosexual couple. If you are changing it and making it for the homosexuals also, then what will happen in case of a divorce? Who will get maintenance out of these couples? Because Special Marriage Act is not a religion, gender, is a gender specific law, because here maintenance can only be demanded by the female spouse. So suppose 2 female are marrying under Special Marriage Act, who will get maintenance? Who will get child rights? Who will what will the minimum age of the marriage? Because for men it is 21, for women it is 18 under Special Marriage Act. Now what will you decide, 18 or 21? Then for different religions it is different. 18 for Hindus for women, and for other for Muslims it is way less than 18. So how will you determine that? So there are more than 150 laws which will be changed if you give this. And if there are allegations of, say, domestic violence or marital rape, how will you determine that, and who will you convict? Because in India, IPC, including 498A and all, these are very gender specific laws. How will you determine that? The Supreme Court has denied that no, marriage is not a fundamental right. Why do you marry? You marry because of the social union. Now social union is anyway permissible. Marriage in this country, however, on the contrary, is based on the institutions of religion. For example, Hindu marry under Hindu Marriage Act, Muslims marry under Muslim personal laws, and those who are marrying interreligious do marry under Special Marriage Act. However, the tenets of Special Marriage are derived from Hindu Marriage Act, because the majority of the population is Hindu. So that is why if you are saying that no, we want a specific new set of law for marriage of the homosexual couples, it needs to be derived by the Parliament only.